So today I wanted to review the Joyo Monomyth Bass Preamp pedal. When I first heard about this pedal to review, I didn't really know much about it. I wasn't starting with any kind of preconceived notion about how good it would be or any budget bias or any of that. So I went in, I plugged it in, and the first thing I noticed was, of course, the cool lights, right on the side. I mean, that's not just gimmicky. It's also good for playing outside if it's bright. Sometimes, you can't read the pedals, what it says, and it's kind of neat to be able to see that. And you can see what the actual frequencies are with the lights on it. And it has a nice little volume slider right here on the left, in addition to the frequencies. And having this 6-band EQ is quite versatile and can make the tonal adjustments you need, which is really important, especially in a venue where you don't know until you get there what the acoustics will be, whether it be an echo. And if you're playing with different musicians, you need to adjust it after you get there. And you want to make sure the bass is cutting through and not too boomy. A boomy bass ruins everything. Everybody wants to get out of there. So it's good for that. And it's good for recording. If you're doing a vintage 4-track, for sure, when you don't have a lot of EQ quality after the fact. But even in a DAW, the better in, the less work later, and the better chance of getting a really good result. So it's also neat that this preamp allows you to do distortion, because a lot of recording, for sure, there's a slight distortion to warm up the sound. It may not always be obvious, but it really warms the sound and kind of can help it cut through the mix. So that's what's neat about this, where you have a separate key here, or if you're doing it live, you can just turn it on in a certain section of the song. And if you're recording, you can use it, and you can have these knobs where you can blend the amount of clean with the distortion. Because if it's all distortion, you lose some of the clarity and the notes ringing through and all that kind of thing. So you can blend the amount you want. And you can hit this level too if you really want it to sound distortion, heavy. We're doing a heavy metal song, and you can turn up the drive and make it sound more gnarly. So you could do this and then put the blend really high, and that's a super distorted sound. Or you can, just set the normal level. You probably want it somewhere around 12 o'clock, and then a good blend. Then you get the subtle distortion to warm the sound, but you don't lose the clarity and the nice bass sound. Another thing that's cool about this is there's a cab simulator. So if you're recording a gig and you don't have an amp, or you just want a way to run through the PA directly, you can just use this cab simulator. It also has the XLR. We all know that the XLRs are more balanced signal, stereo capability, less noise, more durable. And it also has a ground lift switch. So if you're getting some of that buzz, you can help get rid of that. That's obviously can be quite vexing. And the XLR is great for a DAW, where they always have XLR inputs, and it can be less noise. Last thing you want to do is take a great take and then the hum ruins it. And with the cab simulator, you have this voice. Well, this kind of is supposed to be change the amp it's simulating, which is kind of neat, but it's, to say that, oh, this is an orange amp, this is an Ampeg. No, it doesn't do anything like that. That's probably a little overstated. It just slightly changes the sound. So if you're not quite happy with it, it'll change the vibe a little bit, but it's pretty subtle. But it does have some neat features, like the headphone jack back here. It has an 1/8" headphone jack. Quarter might be a little better, but if you're on the road, you can plug in the headphones and not need any kind of amp to be able to hear it. And it has the out through that you can use for MIDI devices. If you want a chain link MIDI and you want like a synth sound, you can use that. One of the jacks on the back for that.
Please subscribe and check out our Guitar Deals group on Facebook. The link's in the bio.